I know you don't want to hear this, but I'm going to offer more proof that the US dollar is strong. People hate hearing that. They're like, oh, it's not strong. Oh, man, they don't understand. They don't understand it. The US dollar is strong. And just economics 101. You want to go outside? No? Well, why are you doing that? He's looking for his brother who just went outside. It's a cold day here in Georgia, man. It's like a cold New England fall day. It's rainy, it's cloudy. Burr, I tell you. Now he's trying to go back out again. All right. So economics 101, quick economics lesson. A strong dollar means cheap imports. A weak dollar means cheap exports, all right? So just keep that in mind. If you have a strong dollar, you're going to import a lot of goods because your dollar and your currency can buy a lot more of other countries' goods. If you have a weak dollar, you're going to export stuff because your dollar and your currency can buy fewer other countries' goods. Now, economic, I'm trying to find a nice word, ignoramuses will say, we need it, and even Trump said this, we need to weaken the value of the dollar so we can export more stuff. Dude, people don't understand. If you weaken the value of the dollar to export more stuff, you are weakening your own ability to buy stuff you want. All right, so a strong dollar, that means other countries' values of their currencies are worth less than us. We can take a dollar bill and we can go to Thailand and buy a pair of tennis shoes for 50 bucks. What does Thailand then do? They can sell us that tennis shoe and get our 50 bucks. What do they do with their own currency there? Can they buy cheap American products? No. Now they can buy stuff in their own country, but can they buy our products? No, they don't have the cash to do it unless they want to pay an arm and a leg, which is why energy independence is so huge, by the way. Because in economics, there's things called elasticity and inelasticity. The more inelasticity that you have, the more you can charge for your price and still get the same amount of demand. So let me give you an example. America is basically the only game in town when it comes to energy exports because we're so efficient. We're so good at what we do. America's not on the back, dude. Even with Bo Biden in office, we're still crushing. We have the skill set because the baby boomers. A lot of people are anti-baby boomers. No, they got a lot of huge skill set that is being transferred downstream. I think there's some problems there, but still, at the end of the day, we still have a knowledge base that no one else can hold a candle to. Anyway, the point being is, so what do people need in the world? They need energy. There's no other way around that. Where does energy come from? Are they going to are there very, very, very few countries are energy independent. So where do they get their energy from? From us. What do they pay for it? They pay it at our strong dollar. We export stuff that they have to have for their own economies, and they're going to pay significant for our strong dollar. You see what I'm saying? We have all the cards. We say you want our energy, you're going to pay a value in American dollars. So if you're in Thailand, you're like, we need energy. Yeah, you're going to pay us our dollar value. But your dollar is too strong. That's why we can export tennis shoes to you. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So all these other countries are up against it, which is why America has been able to do these insane foreign imperial policies because they know they're up against it. So anyway, we say, all right, Thailand, we're going to buy your tennis shoes. All right, Mexico, we're going to buy your pineapples. We're going to buy it with our strong dollar, which means we can buy more than what you can in your own country. Because you can't buy anything that we can buy with a dollar. A dollar will buy more in Mexico than a peso will buy in Mexico because it's so much stronger. And so we say we can now take that freaking papaya, that pineapple, and we can put it on our grocery store even in the wintertime because we have a valuable asset called the US dollar. It buys more foreign goods than what they can buy from us. But the goods they buy from us, there's the goods they need, which is why it's insane for Bo Biden to shut down energy exploration, energy independence, the leasing things in the Arctic Northwest, the Arctic region. It's stupid. It's not our military. It's our dollar, man. It's our dollar. So let me show you this. And this is what you want. If you want choice, and everyone says, oh, we have too many products, man. I hate when I hear that. Only rich people say that. You have to be rich to say there's too much. We have too much consuming here. You have to be rich to talk like that. You have to be. We have so many products from so many countries, and the reason we have is because our dollar is worth so much more than foreign countries. This is not debatable. The dollar is strong. I mean, just think about it. I'll give you another example. Right now, our dollar is so much stronger than China, well, obviously, but than Canada. You could go to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and buy a house up there for 300,000 Canadian. You know how much that is in U.S.? Like 230, or I don't know what it is exactly, but that's 230,000 bucks. Why? Because the U.S. dollar is so much stronger than the Canadian dollar. You can now take 230,000 bucks and go to Halifax, Nova Scotia, and buy a house for what would cost a Canadian 300,000 bucks. Does that make sense? That's huge. So you can use your dollar and go to foreign countries and buy stuff more than what they can buy in themselves because a dollar is worth so much more. I don't get how people don't get this. So let's take a look. Happy Yeltsin Supermarket Day. 34 years ago, Boris Yeltsin, then a newly elected member of the Supreme Soviet of the, basically we know Boris Yeltsin was the president of the United States. He was put in there by the U.S. Imperial. There's no other way around it. Imperialistic U.S. has put Yeltsin in there to basically destroy their economy, to give their rich people wealth that the Russians are still paying for. We did them wrong, dude. That's just our leadership just sucks. Anyway, he toured the U.S. government facility at NASA in Houston, but in a brief impromptu visit, he went to a nearby grocery store that may have well changed world history. He was astonished at the variety and affordability of the products on display. According to various reports, this visit, not going to NASA, because we know the founder, one of the bigwigs of NASA, was a literally member of the Nazi Party. It's weird. We're hunting down Nazis all over the place, but yet Wernher von Braun in NASA was a little member of the Nazi Party, and we glorify that guy. You know, they did a standing ovation to a Nazi guy in Canada the other day. Now they're got egg on their face, but it's like, wait, do we not know our own history in NASA? Wernher von Braun and others, literally members of the Nazi Party. Not Rommel, John Scott, you're out there. We're not talking about Rommel. Rommel, the Desert Fox, was not a member of the Nazi Party. We're talking about literal members of the Nazi Party, Wernher von Braun. All right. So anyway, according to various reports, this visit catalyzed Yeltsin's exit from the Commie Party and abandoned his of the Soviet economic models. So here's the New York Times, and the New York Times never lied to us. During a visit to the U.S., Yeltsin became more convinced than ever that Russia had been ruinously damaged by its commies, where people stood in long lines to buy the most basic needs of life and more often than not found the shelves bare. He was overwhelmed by what he saw at a Houston supermarket by the kaleidoscope variety of meats and vegetables available to ordinary Americans. Some guy quoting a Yeltsin associate wrote in his biography, "For a long time on the plane to Miami, he sat motionless, his head in his hands. What have they done to our poor people?" he said. On his return to Moscow, Yeltsin would confess the pain he had felt after the Houston excursion. The pain for all of us, our country so rich, so talented, so exhausted by incessant experiments. I think we have committed a crime against our own people by making their standard of living so incomparably lower than the rest of than that of the Americans. Yep, and yet America is going to gripe. Look at this. He's looking at this right here. This is just not even a fancy schmancy supermarket. My colleague and I recall this wonderful story in a forthcoming essay, Defending Globalization, explain how the U.S. grocery store abundance, owed in large part to globalization, fueled Yeltsin's freezer-side conversion and increased further since that time. Between 1975, when your old buddy Josh was 5 years old, to 2022, the number of products in an average U.S. supermarket has increased by more than threefold, from basically 9,000 to 32,000. Now, all that increase is due to globalization, of course, but much of it is. And you can see, look at this. U.S. imports of virtually every type of food have increased since the 1990s. This is because we have a strong dollar. You're going to tell me this is bad? You got more choices out there. More stuff to buy because of our strong dollar. There's more and more competition, which keeps the prices lower if there's less competition. Check this out. Some of these gains reflect Americans' increasing appetites for ethnic foods. We don't have those increasing appetites for ethnic foods if we don't have money. And the related explosion of such items in American grocery stores. These cuisines are today so commonplace that American grocers are struggling to fit them all in the ethnic food aisle. A Korean American supermarket chain has become one of the fastest growing retailers by specializing in foods from around the world. But there's probably no bigger symbol of U.S. grocery globalization than the produce section. Supermarkets in 1980, for example, carried an average of 100 different produce items, and the number approached 250 by 1993. But even then, certain fruits and vegetables were limited to North American growing seasons, and few had even heard of products like rambutans, lychee, or jackfruit, which I don't know what they are. A casual stroll through the same aisles today reveals an incredible variety driven by global trade and Americans' globalized taste buds. According to the FDA, 55% of fresh fruits and 32% of fresh vegetables are sourced from abroad. I mean, globalization has even improved our domestic food supply. For example, more than 40% of the steel used for canning goods is sourced globally, meaning that many canned goods, although grown domestically, would be more expensive if U.S. producers lacked access to imported materials. Anyway, sadly, the hope and optimism of a Yeltsin's right. Well, because Yeltsin was a freaking clown, set there by us, but still. I mean, dude, the numbers are the number. I want to share with something. Book, Relax and Retire, which I self-published, and it came out a couple months ago. Quote, countries all over the world are surpassing previous records for the production of food crops. This is good news that it stands in stark contrast to the apocalyptical picture that the media paints daily in reports on climate and weather. Crop yields in the 21st century have been increasing due to a combination of factors. Among them are the use of modern technologies, the development of high-yielding crop varieties, and the application of fertilizers. All right, so check this out here too, by the way. Oh, by the way, I just love this book. It's a quote from Laura Beams, A Maine Hamlet, talking about the old days. The old good days, you know what I'm saying? The good days when everything was good. In the winter, the ambitious would be eating celery, ordered from away 2 weeks in advance. Brought in, these luxuries seem to be more interesting because the ground was already deep in snow. So you were eating celery in the winter, and that was a luxury. Food was heavy, abundant, and well cooked except for beef, which the cook had little experience. The diet was high in starch and sugar, rich in appetizers and condiments, lacking in salads and fresh fruits. Lacking in salads and fresh fruits. Because it's wintertime. You can have access to pineapples in the winter. Never mind salad, fresh fruits, or celery. You like beef, eh? You would have loved it back then when it was scarce. While a pound of chuck roast in 1913 was only 15 cents. Good luck finding it, especially in the winter. In the summer, even men doing hard physical labor got along without meat. Their own pork was gone, and the farm did not raise enough chickens for more than Sunday and holiday dinners. The farmer's August dinner might be green peas and potatoes, shelled lima beans, new corn and beets, new cucumbers floating in vinegar, blueberry pie, and tea with lots of hot bread, but no meat at all. I sit there, I say, are we actually better off? And I say, are we truly better off? When I wrote this, right now I was sitting in a climate-controlled Dunkin' Donuts enjoying a hot coffee and a donut while outside it's raining and cold. When I'm done here, I'll walk to my vehicle, get a few sprinkles on my head, feel a bit of the cold wind, and then get in my warm vehicle and drive the 4 miles to my house with the windows up, heated seats, and all the audio and entertainment I want. Back then, though, you couldn't just hop in your car and go someplace. And that, we're talking, that was in the 1910s, but it wasn't until about the 1950s where you could start having the modern luxuries that we have now. But even then, it wasn't as good as we have it now. I know you don't want to hear it. Everyone wants to hear the dollar's collapsing. It's because of Bojangles, because of Trump's, because of the generation, the baby boomers or Gen Zs or whatever. Everyone else, it's just, and yet you're sitting in the best state of comfort in the history of mankind. And people come to this country every day without a freaking penny to rub together. What was that? Okay. And they kick ass and take names. I'm reading Thomas Sowell's book right now, Black Rednecks and White Liberals, talking about just generation over generation. The freaking Chinese, the Jews, the Koreans, the Italians, the merchants, the traders come to nations without any freaking money. They can't even speak the language, and then they just learn how to crush. And yet everyone hates them because they're like, oh, it's not fair, man. And yet they do it because they just learn to say, hey, there's opportunity here. What opportunity are you missing? There's an opportunity. I mean, it might not be there forever. I look at my own YouTube channel and I'm like, I served an opportunity that was not there when I started this. Now many people are on YouTube talking financial planning. And I attribute my success to my man Miles Beckler. He's the guy who kind of got me off the huff, and he didn't know me, but I watched his videos. And then Dustin Tibbetts over at Jazz Wealth. Because Miles is the guy that said, look, you can do this, just it takes time. And Dustin was the first guy I saw on YouTube talking financial stuff and going a little bit against the grain. And no one else was doing it. And now everyone's out there on YouTube. It's crazy. It's crazy. So it makes it hard. It's more competitive. But I exploited the lack of competition for a good number of years, man. I mean, if you typed in retirement planning, I was #1 for about 2 years in the algorithm. Not anymore, because now it's just inundated. And it sucks. I mean, it's harder to make money on YouTube, harder to get views. And it is what it is, man. It's just an overly competitive market. But I mean, and that's what happens. Competition drives people to change, to adapt and overcome. And the competition for you is a competition for your dollar, the competition for your labor. You see what I'm saying? And you're like, I got to be competitive what I do. And if I want to make more money, I got to find a way to be more competitive. Or I got to make a dollar stretch longer. And that's competition for your dollar too. Because scarcity will forever be here. There's no economic theory in the history of mankind that will get rid of scarcity other than communism, which is a joke. And I know people don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear like, oh, dude, it's on you, man. There's nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping you. You don't have to drink those freaking 6-pack of beers for the UGA game while you're tailgating. You don't have to do that. Because all that, you don't have to go out to a bar at night and spend all kinds of money on alcohol and liquor and then gripe about not having enough money and getting a new iPhone, getting tattoos and all that stuff, having a leased car. You don't have to do all that. You can say, I just talked to my man yesterday, Ronald. The guy just, he and his wife, they don't have, I mean, he's worked at the same company for 27 years. It looks like he's about to get let go. He's like, do I even need to work anymore? I said, no. Are you sure? I said, dude, you just don't spend that much money. Car's paid for. You got a small mortgage that will be paid for in a couple of years. You just don't spend that much. So if you don't spend that much, he's going to live on Social Security and Social Security loan. He doesn't have to, but he could easily because he's like, oh, I didn't know that. I know. Again, you don't want to hear it. You want to hear all the bad stuff. It's bad. It's not bad. It's freaking awesome. There's bad things. I don't like the 57 flavors crap being shoved down my face. You don't either. I wish the Christian church would be a little bit more base and freaking, whatever. You can do anything. It's just, I wish there'd be a little bit more just rudimentary Christianity in terms of your requirements as opposed to, just do whatever you got. As long as it's in your heart. It's like, I don't quite think so. And there's a lot, I don't like the freaking, stupid Colorado, whatever their name is, with Deion Sanders, that guy drives up the wall. I was got to see them get smoked. I don't like all the racial crap, but I just, it's still better than any other place. And I have to adapt and overcome. I mean, my YouTube channel isn't doing nearly as well as it used to. I get it. I'm still getting people email me. That's good. I'm still serving a niche that's not out there, which is good. But you can't rest on your laurels. You gotta say, what should I be doing different, or should I take a different focus, or should I whatever? And right now I'm still fine. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. But who knows what the future is? I can see the competitive urges rising in me. Say, I might have to change a little bit because what I used to do isn't working as well. It's just it's fine. Don't get me wrong. But you can see it. You can see, and maybe it just be the ebb and flow, but. You can also see that that TikTok is having a big presence, which I'm not on, and I'm not on Twitter, and I probably should use Facebook a little bit more because Facebook does that to older people. That's a fact. But anyway, it's you got to change when the times call for changing, but don't sit there and say, I can't change because everyone's against me. It's just not true. It's just not true. You live in the best place in the world by far. There's no other place you should rather live. We're still crushing. We got many, many people out there still kicking ass and taking names. It's good to be an American. I'm proud to be an American. All right. Love your thoughts. We'll see you.